What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about chaos walking. Let me start this off by saying a big thanks to Amy from Lionsgate, who will probably never watch this video, for giving me my first ever screener for a big studio release like this. I hope to be able to do more stuff like this moving into the future. I'm a little bit late on the early review cycle for this movie, but I'm excited at all to have been able to see this movie early and talk about it with you guys. So Chaos Walking is a movie I remember seeing some early kind of images and production kind of things in general years ago, back when Daisy Ridley first appeared in Star Wars The Force Awakens. Around the same time Tom Holland was appearing in the MCU films, initially as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And so yeah, this was a movie that I almost had forgotten about because it just kept getting delayed, and here we are years later. And when I saw the trailer again and some of the posters as we were ramping up to its release this weekend, March 5th, I was definitely looking forward to seeing how this movie would actually play out and actually being able to see it. I'm a huge fan of Tom Holland and of Daisy Ridley, and I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, so it seemed like something right up my alley. Now, I understand that this is apparently based on a book. I don't know if it's just one book or a book series, but I want to let you guys know I've never read that book. I have no knowledge of that book, so this is solely going to be my thoughts on the movie in and of itself. So Chaos Walking stars Daisy Ridley, Tom Holland, Matt Mikkelsen, Nick Jonas, and many others, and tells the story of this planet called New World. It's about 200 or so years in the future, and on this planet all there are men. Tom Holland is our main character of this film, and on this planet all of the men have their thoughts on display with something that's called the noise. There's some sort of misty cloud fog kind of thing that appears over their head in different colors that literally has any of their thoughts be verbalized. So even if it's just them trying to hush their own minds and to tell themselves to stop thinking about something, all that can be heard. So amongst all these men, there's really no hiding it from one another. There are some people who are better about controlling this thing called the noise, but for the most part, yeah, their thoughts are just on display for everybody to hear and see. Even thinking back to past memories will bring those memories to life in kind of like a physical way, where you can see these memories via this little cloud mist thing. Really cool concept, really enjoyed that. We also learned not too long into the film that there was some sort of war that broke out where all the women were killed, and that's why there's only men. And that's when things start to get a little bit weird, when Daisy Ridley ends up crash landing on the planet with her space crew, and she's the only survivor. And so for a lot of people, including people like Tom Holland in this film, she's the first ever woman that they have ever seen. What I'll say about this movie on an overall level is that I liked it. I wasn't crazy about it, and there's a lot about the film and the story that I felt kind of left things to be desired, but I thought it was a really cool concept and a really cool world. I think my biggest issue with this film is they didn't explore a lot of the elements that they introduced enough. Now, like I said, this could be based on a book series, and maybe there's more because they definitely left it open-ended, but as a movie in and of itself, I felt like it left something to be desired. There were some cool visuals and some cool action sequences and just some fun, exciting elements to the film, but by the end of the film, I can genuinely say that outside of Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley's character, I didn't really care for any of the characters in this film. I didn't really care about the villain, and by the end of the movie, I just didn't really care about the stakes of the film. Though I was entertained watching it, I just felt like there was something that I needed a little bit more in the narrative for me to feel more attached to these characters and their journey. But what I will say is I really enjoyed the planet and the little bit of lore and the little bit of explanation that we did get, but I just wish that there was more. While I was watching the film, I just feel like they kind of introduced certain elements that definitely left me really intrigued. Things that you'd only see for one scene, and I don't want to get into spoilers, so what I'll just say is that there's just elements and things that appear in this film that are just not really explored. And as a movie in and of itself, I think if you're watching this for the first time and you've never read the books and this is your first time in this universe, there's a lot that's introduced, a lot of things that are kind of hinted at that are never really explored. And as a movie in and of itself, I just felt like it was a little hollow. Really cool at times, some cool visuals, some cool action, though there are some moments of CG and some green screen that are a little bit cheesy. But for the most part, what I could say is that the movie was entertaining, it was well shot, it looked cool, it had a really cool premise. You have two likable, good-looking actors and actresses in the role, and what I could say on an overall level is that it was an entertaining movie to watch. I was never bored while watching it. I was never pulled out of the movie. I did wish that there was a little bit more of a score or music throughout the film. I kind of felt like it was a fairly silent film, and when the score did pick up, it felt fairly generic compared to, you know, a lot of other sci-fi films. But what I can say is that on an overall, I liked the movie. I just felt like there was something missing. I needed a little more spice in the narrative. It needed something to kind of flesh things out. It felt like a movie that was in production hell. It felt like a movie that was a little bit choppy with some of the story beats. There were elements about the narrative that felt a little bit rushed to me. But on an overall level, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a cool universe. I just felt like there really wasn't much there for me to think, oh yeah, I want to rewatch this again immediately. Though I am curious to see if they make a sequel, because they definitely left it open-ended. And I'm okay with things that are open-ended or leave a cliffhanger, especially when it comes to series or something that they're kind of planning a sequel for. But this movie didn't feel like it really told its own whole story. There was so much about the story that I felt like just wasn't answered, and things that are just kind of completely left on the table. And I can see some people watching this movie and thinking, yeah, I don't really care if I ever see a sequel for this movie at all. I also feel like I should mention Daisy Ridley's wig in this film. It's a little bit strange, a little bit off-putting at times. It was strange to me that they didn't just cast somebody who was actually blonde, or at least somebody who can pull off blonde a little bit better. You know, she looks fine in the role, but you know, the wig is definitely noticeable, and I've already seen some people make comments about it, so I feel like I have to throw in my 2 cents and say, yeah, there's definitely this weirdness while you're watching the film. The one thing that I kept kind of thinking visually just was a little bit off-putting to me while I was watching the movie was Daisy Ridley in this very obvious yellow wig, this very obvious blonde wig that just doesn't really fit her as an actress, in my opinion. But I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say about that. But yeah, you know, I don't want to get too deep into spoilers, and if I'm completely and utterly honest, this is probably my 15th time trying to record this video. I did it as soon as I woke up, and for some reason I have just not been able to get my thoughts out properly, and I just started like rambling, and then I was like, oh my god, like what I said in this sentence wasn't connecting here, and it was just all jimbled, and I was like, I kept restarting, and so here we are with like the 15th attempt. And what I will say on an overall level is that I liked the movie. I thought it was well acted. I just felt like a lot of the story was a little bit rushed, and though it was eventful at times, though it has its big moments, I couldn't help but feel like there was things that were introduced and, you know, kind of slightly explored and explained to audiences, but they just never really ran with it. There was so much left in my mind that when I think about the movie, I'm like, well, what about that? What about this thing that we saw for one scene? What about this thing that was introduced in that 1 second? I couldn't help but feel like the story just didn't really give me everything I wanted as far as a big, you know, resolution to the story that was set up at the beginning of the movie. But what I can say is that I thought it was cool. I enjoyed the concept. I enjoyed the acting. And I hope that we get to see a little bit more of this universe in the future. I don't think it's a movie that's going to work for everybody. I think this is a movie that can easily be nitpicked by a lot of people. I can see a lot of people watching this movie and just not caring for it. So when I say I liked it, I'm also not saying that this was an amazing or incredible film. But what I will say is I was never bored. I was entertained, and I was always curious and interested to see where it was going. So it constantly kept my attention. And as I've said on this channel before, the worst thing a movie can do is bore me, and this movie did not do that. So I am looking forward to seeing what they do with this movie or this franchise moving forward, if it is a success. But as a movie in and of itself, I think that it kind of left something to be desired with a really, really cool concept that I really, really enjoyed. I really enjoyed seeing these actors have to play off of one another without the other actor actually saying something, with it all being thought-based. You know, I think that they really handled that really, really well. And again, a really cool premise, a really cool world. It just never was fully explored in the way that I feel they could have. So yeah, guys, that's going to be my thoughts on Chaos Walking. Here we are with the 15th attempt to record this review for some reason. But I appreciate all of you guys who watched. I hope you guys enjoyed the film. If you guys do go and check it out, I believe this one is coming out only in theaters and IMAX. So if you guys do check it out in theaters, I don't think it's a movie that's like, please don't waste your money in theaters. But I can understand also if this is a movie that doesn't really call to people to come see it in theaters, to be completely honest. But yeah, guys, hit that like button down below if you guys enjoyed the video. Comment your thoughts down below if you guys have seen the movie, or if you have not seen the movie, because I'm posting this a little bit early. Are you interested in seeing the movie? And subscribe for more videos. I definitely can't wait to do more of these early screeners as time goes on. A big thanks to you guys for watching, genuinely. And yeah, Chaos Walking, a movie that I think is it's worth checking out whenever you get the chance to, but I don't know if it's worth rushing to the theater to go see. So yeah, that's gonna be my thoughts on the movie. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, bye-bye.